What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another Roster Bubble Series video. Hope you guys are doing well. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or a video drops. Appreciate you coming back. Share this out. Do all the good stuff. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content in terms of the podcast, Roster Bubble Series videos, and even beforehand, the training camp content as well. So, we got another Roster Bubble Series video for you guys today, and we're going to talk about one of the newer New York Football Giants. But if you haven't been here before, I take a player that's on the cusp of being, kind of talk about their background, their competition, ways they could win a spot on the roster, ways they could lose a spot on the roster, and a prediction at the end. So today we're going to talk about Christian Holmes. He's 26 years old. The Giants recently added him when they cut Deshaun Corbin. Cornerback, 26 years old, 6'1", 205 pounds. Went to Missouri for a few years, then went to Oklahoma State, and was a 7th-round draft pick of the Washington Commanders. Now, if you're asking if the Giants have faced him before, yes, they did. His most extensive playing time was in 22, and he didn't get all that much playing time, but I remember against the Giants, he actually got the start at one of the corner spots and actually didn't do very well. He gave up a touchdown to Isaiah Hodgins. He had a pass interference penalty on Darius Slayton. It was the game I was at. It was the tie in 2022. So just some notes on Christian Holmes from there. But as I mentioned, he spent 3 years at Missouri playing, 4 years in total because 2017 he did not play. And then 2 at Oklahoma State. 3 career interceptions in total, 129 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 14 games in his last year, the year before that, 11 games, and 30 pass deflections in college. So his positives and negatives. I got this from CBS Sports. Good-sized cornerback with above-average arm strength, attacks the ball well in the air, good instincts to key and trigger downhill, great athlete with a physical style of play. So maybe he could be a slot corner for us. I mean, I know slot corners are a little shorter, but the arm length, that's good for being physical downfield, and also triggering and keying downhill. That's good against the run. So I see why the Giants picked him up. But weaknesses, and I saw this in the preseason game recently, and I also saw this against the Commanders in 2022. Older prospect with average top-end speed, false steps in his pedal, handsy in coverage downfield, only 1 interception over the past 3 seasons in college. So just to note about that. He did not play in camp. I don't think was even there on the second day. I think the first day of the joint practices, he was just signed. So I was really surprised that they threw him in the game. But he didn't do too well. He allowed 2 catches. He had a pass interference penalty, took a really bad angle on the ball. So not the greatest start for Christian Holmes, a guy who just got in and they threw him into the fire. So his competition looks like this. Mario Goodrich, Caleb Hayes, who's been playing a little bit of safety, David Long Jr., Johnny Holmes, Trey Herndon, Alex Johnson, Nick McLeod, and Breon Borders. Goodrich, we know the deal with him already. We did a Roster Bubble Series video on him. Pretty much everybody except Borders here. But McLeod has a leg up, and also as well, there are some injuries in the secondary. McLeod has a minor injury. Cordell Flott has a quad injury, so there's still room to make the roster, and I think Christian Holmes is at the point of his career, kind of like Goodrich, to where they are young. They were drafted, or at least with a team for a decent amount of time, to where they weren't just pushed around the league like a guy like Breon Borders. So that is probably what's also standing out about Christian Holmes. Now, in terms of how he could win a spot on the roster, health is one of them, obviously. Number 2 is special teams coverage. Special teams in terms of like a gunner or a protector, obviously he's not going to return because he doesn't have the top level speed. But I do see him as a potential gunner or a protector. I think that would be big for the Giants. Again, they're looking for guys that could try to make this team via specials and also with the original position they play, cornerback, wide receiver, whatever, ascends up the depth chart. Again, that one's big because he's got a little bit more experience than some of the guys on the roster. He's not been passed around a lot. And he's still young. So I think with the injuries compiling just a little bit, I think he could slowly make his way up, especially in training camp. Now, of course, it's not training camp for us fans to see, but the practices. And if he's a ball hawk in the camp in the preseason and stands out one-on-ones I would definitely like to see with Christian Holmes. I want to see him get better with this holding penalty stuff and ball hawk in camp and preseason. I would like to see his hands on the football because he didn't do a great job of that in college. Only had 3 interceptions in 5 years. How can he lose? Health, not ascending up the depth chart would be big with all the injuries coming along. And again, he's still at that young age, was a draft pick of the Commanders, so he still has some weigh-in. Poor special teams play, lack of versatility on special teams. I do want to see whether he's a better slot corner or an outside corner because I feel like the Giants will keep a fringe guy like that, whether it's a Goodrich or a David Long or a Christian Holmes, someone who doesn't have too much experience, but they like and they feel like they could train a little bit. Roasted in one-on-ones and lack of ball skills, which again has been pretty much his issue over the course of his collegiate career. But I didn't even mention his stats in the NFL. Let me do that real quickly before I get to a prediction. With Washington in 2022, he had all 17 games under his belt, 2 starts, 2 fumble recoveries, 12 total tackles. In 2023, 13 games under his belt and 8 tackles in terms of snap percentage. 10% for Washington on defense in 22 and 23, only 4%. In coverage, he gave up an 87.5 completion percentage in 22, along with a touchdown, 158.3 passer rating. And 23, he gave up 1 completion, 2 targets, 6 yards, 56.2 passer rating. So I don't really take that into account, but more of the 2022 stuff because it was more, it was a bigger timetable, bigger time period of him playing for the Commanders. I do have him being cut. I don't think that he'll make the roster. I feel like it's a tad too late. I just don't see him making the roster after the way he started in the Lions game. And I think his weaknesses from the Commanders are going to be seen, in these next 2 games against the Jets and again against the Texans. So he's definitely a guy that the Giants could kind of train. I just don't see them doing it because I do think they need legitimate corner depth on the roster. Like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops or video drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool.